Welcome back, everybody, to the main stage. We are now on our way to week 5 when it comes around to this Valorant series. Obviously, that's the case for every single game here. No, we put it on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday basis. The casters tonight, a little bit of a switch up. I'm going to be a constant and a little common denominator here, but we're always getting somebody new on the desk. Going ahead, spicing things up. To be Lofi this week. As much as I'd love to give you your introduction, give you a little space on camera now, we already got these players in map. They are looking and they are ready and revving to go as we already have ourselves in the likes of Fracture. And we're already in the agent select as well. We already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players locked in the entire team, but not on the same side. So as we go ahead and get into it with Fracture, it's going to be Auburn versus JSU. We've already seen both these teams play before. They have themselves a pretty impressive record thus far. Auburn as well. Already looking to be, I think a second seed here within what we have thus far. But even then, Schmoovin already starting out on the neon. I love to see it because typically it's Rue who's sitting in those shoes, I believe. Or Dex, actually. But he's not here today, surprisingly enough.
Yeah. I was like, I'm really excited to see this matchup, actually. I think Neon's going to be an interesting play on this, too. Especially with... They only have one duelist on JSU. That's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out, actually. Yeah, we've got 2 duelists on Auburn, and we've got 1 on attacking, so we're going to see how this goes out. I like the Sky pick. I think that's going to be really valuable. Sova's going to be great for intel for JSU. Not a lot of intel on Auburn's side, so it's going to be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, Auburn's definitely looking for more of a retake approach when it comes on to its defending side, and I'm kind of really, I would say, proud of them for going for this defense start. To find themselves on this map, obviously, you're going to start for the attacking side. That's what we saw JSU opt for, but I mean, when you sit there and put Auburn on the rear end, that's quite honestly exactly what they want. They want to fight for some relativity. They find at least 3 rounds. They know they're within some kind of a spectrum to bring this game back, knowing they're going to really favor for this attacking side. And as everything comes out, I mean, we can see that, obviously, as you mentioned prior, not just the Sova for that intel, but also the Sky as well. A lot to work with. And considering the double duelist for the side of Auburn, they are looking to play extremely aggressive here. So, I mean, I wouldn't blame if they sit there every single time we see a site being taken. They say, you know what, forget this. We're not fighting this down unless we grab ourselves a 2K, which isn't really guaranteed here. You want to make sure to double down things as much as you can, create that opportunity, create that space, and even then just work for more aggression when you know you have a lockdown site to be playing off of.
Got Jet peeking A main with a deal. See if I can get a pick here. It's like they're really playing it slow. JSU is. I think they're waiting to get a pick, maybe. Oh, we got first pick on the zip line.
And that's a big
That's
problem.
yeah, that's gonna hurt JSU in the long run. Maybe they're gonna try to get a pick here. Because
I
they're
mean,
playing it
they're
really, really slow.
they're going to constantly look for picks. I think this is definitive. Obviously, in the game of Valorant, we're not playing it. We're not having a pacifist run here. I think people are going to be trying to kill each other off one by one. But as it looks thus far, JSU's finally making a move onto this A main site, trying to find some
All right,
shots
they're
onto it.
pushing in.
Thraximundar looking for a little bit of picks. Can't really find the damage, but instead,
Spike down.
Bubs able to go ahead and manage 2 there. Boosted to get 1 as well. And Bubs with the sheriff really making this work
What a
out as
quick
Lynx is able to
round.
back up with that Ed Hunter in hand. But does the defenders go ahead and close up this first round? Auburn's not going to be up 1-0. Get themselves a force to be working here in the second round. And even then, JSU's going to be on their toes, especially considering that last round, knowing that we saw that Neon push out into that zip line. They're not even going to be safe in spawn, is what it seems like this far.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think that they could have pushed that a little harder, but man, Auburn, they just came in with that defense so fast. They rotated so quick. It was a very quick round. Those picks on A were great. Phenomenal.
I think this is the
Oh, that's
entire
a big
setup they're
pick.
looking for. I mean, you already
Oh,
see
yeah.
right here. Lynx with the first pick right there. I mean, an easy start. If Auburn keep on grabbing these first picks like that, they're going to be playing a very, very easy trade game here for the rest of this half. And even then, we mentioned it earlier with them playing a huge retake kind of composition, playing very attack oriented. They want to work for these initial picks. They want to go ahead and get aggressive right off the get go, find this numbers advantage, knowing that things really don't go well in this defense. So we can
All
already see Boosie
right.
being picked off. It makes the job that much more complicated. So that's going to be the bigger picture they're trying to work with here, but it makes things a lot more difficult when you already see that you're raised, you're duelist, your major introduction onto a site's also a little zinked up as well. So you can see that possibly Bubs playing that anchor, playing that roll towards the back. JSU has a lot of respect right now, and they're saying, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Because we have nothing but pistols. And even then, Bubs does as well. I'm sure he's saving up for an operator in this next round, or maybe some kind of a force to be working with to make the round look that much more doable. But as we see, things are still slow and steady, and Bubs almost got a peek on a toaster there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They've got this held down for sure. They've got sight on them in A main, and they're trying to make a rotate now. All right, I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. They still think they're at A?
Well, they think they're still at A, but it looks like they're moving over towards the B side. And even then, with only 20 seconds remaining now, they have to make the move on this side. They have to commit to it because there's no second chances here, which, quite honestly, they didn't really have an option anyways, because with all these Spectres on the field, you grab these necessary kills, you get even more frags on the board. Link's able to go ahead and find a 3K there. Looking to close things out, maybe get that 4, but Schmoovin wants to go ahead and make an introduction in this round as well. So that's the second one down for Auburn, to be expected. We can't really freak out too much knowing that JSU didn't really buy up there. But this is the round is where they will. And also, Bubs, breaking out that operator, as I mentioned, looking to go ahead and create somewhat of an ace up the sleeve for the side of Auburn to make sure they can grab themselves some easy frags. And even then, considering that JSU will be buying up here, it'll make your job that much worse if they find those initial picks like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that is for sure. I was like, I've seen Bubs before. He always does great with the op, but he actually didn't take the op. He sold it back, so he's just going another deagle. So interesting buy here. He's playing really aggressive on A main as well. Oh, and he gets taken out as well. Ray's got that good pick. It's like they've got Bubs out of the way. They're doing phenomenal. See if they can make this push onto A site and get somewhere.
And
Like, 'cause
isn't
right now
really
they're kind of stuck.
Yeah, they're not really going for too much of a split either. I mean, they've given Schmoovin full reins at the opposite side of the field. I mean, at this stage, and when you know they're not coming up and zipline, you can went ahead and check that. You grab the ult orb. You know you have complete control one half of the map. They can only push from one, and they're not really even anchoring on one side or the other. They are saying we have neon, we have a fast rotation, we have an easy way to get across the map. Schmoovin's going to look for this aggression, but
Ooh,
can't
good
find it.
pick.
As Brofius able to go ahead and grab that first frag. Another one to follow up is going to be Red with that second one as well to back things up. So now in a 3v2 scenario, Auburn looking to get a little bit more, but it all comes down to whether or not they can really bring that to light. Because with that Phantom down on the ground, that's some free, easy pickups there for him. It's also going to be a free, easy rotate for him to get across that B site and a free plant here for JSU.
I think this plan's gonna go out really well for them. Just need to make sure they're holding their angles. You know, they're not making any dangerous peaks. Because while they do have numbers, I do think that it's best for them to play it safe right now, especially considering that they don't have a lot of money. So I think this will be the best bet is for them to just hold angles, not peek, let them come to them.
Yeah, I mean, you can already see the stance coming out thus far. I mean, them looking to play a little bit slow, methodical. Problem is, that's not really going to work out too well as we already see Boosted going and getting close off. The call out will be there,
All
but the shots
right.
most definitely won't. That's going to be a first round to the board for JSU, so we have a little bit of a contest now. But problem is, in a round like that, we still obviously Bubs didn't go up and buy there. Schmoovin didn't really opt to buy either, even though holding on to that frenzy for so many rounds. He picked up a weapon there in the process, making some due diligence of what he had. But I mean, you got to consider what the rest of the team is doing right now. I mean, they are going to have full reins of the economy now in this game. Knowing that, I mean, JSU got almost completely, I would say, shut down in terms of their money. Not much to work with here, but Schmoovin even then not much to work with either. He's probably going to opt for the ultimate, knowing that Overdrive is still available in hand. I mean, that's a free little Emperor Palpatine to go ahead and wipe out for the round, and it'll reset itself. That's literally the same thing as a Jet Ultimate, and it's going to be popped right now. Speaking of popping, all Bubs is popping off. Able to grab that first kill. Looking for a second one. Can't really manage it, but gets out scot-free. Now making it a 5v3
Oh, and they
as we
got the
now
pick
see our
on Neon.
4v3 as Schmoovin finds an even exchange.
And they got the spike for the flank. They are really struggling here. Dan Toaster's got to make a play, see if he can get this spike back so they can get maybe some sort of control over the site. Like, I think he can clutch this up. He's got to play it safe, play careful, play slow.
You were extremely optimistic to think that Dan Toaster is going to clutch this thing up.
I
This is
think he
a
has it in him.
this is a 1v4 scenario. Auburn has Spike on lock. They're not letting up like what we've seen some teams do here in the league. They are playing for their crosses. They're looking to play aggressive. Bubs already has the angle towards A main. Make sure to hold out that door, and if anything goes south, you make sure to get yourself a little bit of a cloud burst, get yourself out, and then say, okay, I'm not really scathed too much. Even then, the one kind of weak point you have is over there towards the other side of the map. Lynx being all by his lonesome, but that's only because Rue is looking to shove out a little bit. And even then, when you swing under that door, Bubs grabs a free kill, and that's going to be a 4-man still standing for that third round, the side of Auburn, as they look to find themselves another one onto the board. But all things considered, that operator doesn't even have too much of a real case in this matchup thus far because Bubs, still being 4-1, has a Blazer at its disposal as well to work with now. So even if things do go wrong, if you see that economy going ahead, finding itself right into the hole, you're still going to have a backup to some extent, knowing that he's at top frag thus far for his squad, or at least tied up with the other 3 members of his team, and that momentum could really carry its own way.
I'm really excited to see how this is gonna go. I think this op's really gonna pop off for sure. Bubs, he's always been good with the op. I've seen it in the past. It's like, but I am really curious to see how this match is going to play out. See if they're going to try something different. Are they going to try to play it slow? Like, what's the plan here? They've got a they've got 1 point. I think if they can pull it up to 2, I think we've got a pretty good economy for them as well for JSU. They've just gotta get in there. They've got to put a rush on the site. It's like playing slow like this, they can't get a good angle. They're already rotated over. This doesn't look too good for JSU. So they got to do something different. They got to change it up. Got to find a different strategy. They're playing really aggressive. Auburn's playing super aggressive. So they need to work with that and see if they can find a way out of this. See if they can outplay them. It's not
And even
looking that
then,
way though.
yeah, it's most definitely not. All things considered, when you see a flawless round where a lot of these teammates were already going ahead and getting put down, you can even see right there the breach right there in Boost's arms, barely making it alive in that round. But even then, you're not too beat up about it. Knowing the Bub still has flawless economy across the board, besides that one operator being bought, you're already compensating for a lot of it. And we sit there and discuss this a lot to where you sit there when you buy an operator, even then, if you don't find yourself the round, the operator is always the number one saved weapon because of how expensive it is. You want to make sure it carries its weight, that it transfers over the rounds, because that's the biggest hindrance to your team if you don't manage those kills. And knowing that these duelists being on defense, that is your Jet's best option here. You can't really find a Jet getting aggressive, finding these Vandal kills, and then dashing out. That's their job when it comes around to attacking side. And even then, it's not to dash out, it's to go ahead and dash in and then follow up with those kills. But already looking once again, JSU a little bit too scared to even move out of spawn because they never even get that opportunity. Schmoovin is already up in their face. I would imagine at least one kill and finding a lot of damage to back it up, and still only sitting at 10 health with the likes of Thrax and Mundar. But it doesn't even matter. That's the spike in the hand of JSU, switching over to the side of Auburn. And Bubs is already moving all the way back to spawn, finding a double kill there, making a 4v1 scenario as the last player standing now being Red, being in that 3 and 4 stance. He's a top frag for his team, but thing is, how much can he really clutch things up in a 1v4 scenario?
That's true. That's true. It was like I want to be optimistic for him, but it's not looking good. It was like with Bubs on the op, there's not a whole lot of a chance. It's like I want to see this play out well, but they've got that spike unlocked. There's no way. But maybe
Where's
he
this
could.
attitude coming from? I thought you literally, it was the same scenario earlier. It was a 1v4. You said he's got this. Now, after that show off, you're like, okay, you know what? Yeah, it's just not going to work
Yeah,
here.
I
Screw
agree.
it.
I agree. Yeah. It's like if Auburn didn't play so aggressively on the spike, I would definitely say there's a chance if he could pick them off one by one. But when they're all holding that spike together, it's going to be really hard to pick them off one at a time. Because once they know where you're at, that's it. Like unless
What
you can somehow miraculously get all of them, it's not going to end well.
One thing that could really go for the side of Auburn right now is considering that, I mean, that chamber, the Torty Force is now going to be put onto the field, and you're going to see that aggression coming out once again. The double operator coming through, and even then, one on both sides of the field. You can already see set up towards B. Link's looking to go ahead and find a couple easy frags, a couple easy shots onto the board, but can't really manage any of them. Misses those shots, can't really find the kills there, which makes it really problematic, but he's not really too beat up about it. You even see Schmoovin breaking out an operator of his own. That is 3 operators on the side of Auburn and 2 kills for them to back it up, as well as Rue's able to manage one in his own respect, knowing that he's a player with an actual rifle in hand and utilizing it as well. So in a 2v5 scenario, Thrax and Mundar and Skywater have to manage what I would sit there and call a miracle would be a correct term for it thus far. As we're already seeing trying to move on the side, and as they can grab at least one pick there on Schmoov, and that's a great way to go ahead and get rid of some of that money, but there's still a lot more at their disposal. Bub sitting at 9K, you can easily compensate for that even then if you decide to buy it. But we're able to go ahead and pick off Skywater Blaze. You see the last player standing as Thrax and Mundar with a Spectre right there into the B side. Can't manage the kills as Boosted swings onto him. And that's a free 6 round here for Auburn, as we see that the only round that JSU's picked up was that one, the retaliation round, as I label it. On that round 3, when you saw the pistol round and the force go to the side of Auburn, they haven't run around since because they haven't found the advantage to be working with. They haven't really reset Auburn to these sheriffs and these other kind of guns. They have to really just kind of go ahead and flex things off, because even at this stage in the game, if you see a budget buy, it's not going to matter. They have themselves a Torty Force to work with. They have that Orbital Strike. They have the Overdrive. They have a Blade Storm. It's kind of these free utility that's really going to go ahead and have the impact in the game. And I think that's exactly what Auburn was looking for.
Another pick on the op. Oh, we got JSU moving in, super aggressive. It's like I think they might get sight here. Might be able to get a plant down. They just gotta push on. Got lots of smokes up. I think they've got a good possibility here. Just gotta play together as a team, hold angles.
And even
They
then, an
got the
easy
spike
start.
planted.
Yep. I mean, they gave themselves a lot of space with their orbital strike. They went in and created some of that. And even then, we saw Shmoovin almost had the perfect timing as strikes him under our head that all incendiary out. But it doesn't even matter. With the cleanup coming through thus far, the blade strike being popped, and even then the orbital strike for the side of Auburn, they made sure to go ahead and compensate where necessary, saying we don't need to utilize this unless we get into a desperate scenario. We already saw Shmoovin go ahead and run in with that overdrive. But thing is, that's not going to do enough unless you really find these kills. He got picked off. That called for the rest of the team on the rotation and the ultimates as well, completely freed things up, even then considering the Rolling Thunder came out as well. Every single ultimate for the side of Auburn, except for that 24, so just popped prior, sat there and had its own opportunity, its own spotlight in this last round. And even they're starting really here from scratch. So this is where we could see somewhat of a turnaround here for JSU if they utilize these ultimates they have at their work. Problem is, the Hunter's Fury, not really going to do too much unless you get that spike down because you're using a lot of it blind. That 24's Skywater Blaze, I don't blame it if he would go ahead and pop that right now, because that could be a factor that really turned things around. Knowing how many operators on the side of Auburn, you can't mess this up. You got to find some kind of life here in this matchup.
They've already got spike possession. It's like, and we got a sky ult popping out from JSU, but they can't follow through with it. I was like, but JSU does have sight. Can they push and get this spike back?
It's a big if, a big theoretical to throw on the board. Problem is, Roy's already right back towards A main. You see that I got the intel on the Skywater as well, so it's making the job that much more difficult when everybody's rushing. But with that judge in hand, you don't want to get too close. You see everybody just having a little bit of fun with this one. But even then, Auburn looking to go and close things out as quickly as it really started. An 8-1 lead now into their hands. When we sat there and talked about their compositions, they didn't seem too favorable for this just yet. It seemed like they're going to be playing for nothing but retakes, but they're going for a very, very different approach. They're playing for upfront aggression, looking to grab these kills quick and easy, get themselves to go ahead and just end out these rounds as fast as possible. Problem is, how is that going to fare for them when it comes down to this attacking side? Because we're now on the 10th round. We got 2 more rounds in our hands after this one before we go to the other half. And if Auburn doesn't go ahead and shut things out by then, things are still going to look pretty grim for them.
It's like, I think the best thing that JSU can do here is push as a team. I was like, brute force is going to be the best way to get onto the site. It's like they're all lagging behind. It's not working out. Just popping out and getting picked off one by one. They're not pushing as a team, and I think that's the big issue here for JSU.
It could definitely be a factor, but when you see the smokes that are across the map right now, they're diving so deep into that spawn, it's not really giving you that leeway. They're not really baiting too much out. They're not giving, any kind of time of day for Auburn to really go ahead and hesitate on their ideologies. They're just rushing right up into spawn. They're not punishing them for that. We're not seeing the crosses to really set up these plays. Instead, we're seeing them work a little bit more slow and methodical, but we're talking about slow and methodical. That is not Bub's plan right now. Getting right all the way back into that spawn, boosted to back him up as well. Shmoovin rushing up as well. Everybody's getting their fair share of action, and they're doing it right there in the spawn of where they're going to be on the next half. But even then, right now, they're still making themselves at home on it. So already the spot to be picked up, it's going to be a questionable move here for JSU, because I don't think they're really having too much of an ideology to work with. I think they're a little bit more hesitant. They're kind of slow to the gun when it comes around to what they really want to do here, and it's making it a very difficult venture for them. And I understand, they're probably a little intimidated in terms of rankings and how all that pans out. But I mean, 5v5 is a different game. They shouldn't be really too scratched about this. Problem is, they should make their adjustments. Their IGL should be still completely within this game and believe that they have a winning shot, because, I mean, 9-3 is still completely doable here. Problem is, those operators are peeking out towards spawn every single time. So where are the smokes to punish that? Where are you going ahead and making the counterplay? When are you saying, okay, let's maybe push B, but not push it up right towards main where we know the lineups are coming from? We go right up under. We hit arcade. Say we go A, come from drop. Do what we got to do. Find a different angle to really find these approaches. Smoke them off, stun them, flash them, whatever you need to do. You have this all utility, but you're not getting a chance to use it when a player dies it instantaneously.
Absolutely. It's like, I think that they need to try a different approach because they're pushing the exact same time every single way, and they let one get picked off each at a time. I was like, they can't make any leeway when you've got one person at a time peeking ops and peeking multiple players on Auburn. Is like, it's not going to work out. They need to be able to push as a team. If they can't push us as a team, there's really no hope for them in the long run.
And I love
It's like,
that
I want to be
crossplay. I mean, they're
right.
from
It's like,
Rue.
I was like, with JSU, I feel like it's like the definition of insanity. They're doing
Yeah.
the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, you guys said they're honestly, I'm kind of with you. They're almost going for the same thing. They're well, what we like to kind of term it as would be funneling onto site. When you see that players are instead of going as a collective group and shifting that across the map, transitioning it from one place to another as a squad, they like to go ahead and narrow it down into like a little line, like they're a bunch of kindergartners. And the leader, everybody's fighting to be the leader. Well, obviously, you have your role to really sit there and fill those shoes, but I mean, we're just not seeing that yet. Instead, the aggression goes right into the spawn for Auburn. And even then, if I was JSU, heck, I would sit there and wait a couple seconds at the squad and spawn. We saw it. We saw the 2v3 earlier where they were just waiting back, but we haven't seen that in a 5-man stance. But there it is. A little bit of a stance coming out for JSU. Finally, as we do see that first frag coming through, and even exchange. Problem is, Schmoove is alive and well, and Dan Toaster is not hitting these op shots just yet. As Rudas find that kill, the whole overdrive comes out. Even then, the orbital strike as well. So much being invested here. And it seems like they're wanting finding a very, very quick end to this half as the defense is already there. They're kind of baiting it, knowing that nobody's really coming just yet because they're waiting on Skywater to come out. But never again, not yet, just not even there. Everybody just kind of going and having their fun there towards the end. But there it is. The first half done and dusted. Auburn being up 11-1. JSU really struggling to find themselves some kind of shoes to fill in this game. And maybe on the defense, they know this aggression's coming. They can set up for it. They have a little bit more time. But thing is, they only had themselves one sentinel to really set up for this. As we sat there and discussed, I mean, on plenty of occasions, how much of an impact Chamber has and that role he is. The right labels him as a sentinel, but yet he doesn't really feel like one. He feels more like a duelist, somewhat of like a controller that has that fragability of a duelist. It all comes down to really how you utilize him. And honestly, we haven't seen too much of it when it comes around to Skywater just yet.
Right, like Chamber, he's made to play mind games. He's made to confuse the enemy, and I don't see that being utilized at all. It's like, and I would love to see that because I think that would really give JSU more of a fighting chance if they can confuse the enemy, make them waste time, make them get stuck, anything. Because right now, Auburn's just having a field day with JSU right now.
Schmoovin, you got to stop, bro. This man literally in the lobby before we sat there and came into this game, he said, "I ain't playing a role I don't typically play. So don't get so I want you to talk the living crud out of me." Well, Schmoovin, you know what? It's kind of hard to do that. I'll be quite honestly. I'll tell you, Neon, don't opt on her. Period. I'm telling Dalton, you're fired. Easy. I'm letting Auburn's coordinator know you are off the team, donezo, because you're not playing the role correctly. But on the first round, you did a pretty darn good job. I'll tell you that much. Running that frenzy, getting in the face of your opponent, tricking things up, playing towards spawn, keeping them on their toes to say which side of the map are they moving towards. Even then, the follow up from the rest of the team, they're playing just standard old Valorant, looking to play it slow and steady, push onto his side. But even then, they're doing a lot more aggressively than what they said prior because when you're on this round 12, you only see one for the side of JSU thus far. This force going to speak a lot of volume. And quite honestly, I think JSU, they're obviously going to force this because that's all they can really do here.
This is their round. If they can get something together, this is the time to do it. I was like, I want to see them get this round, but Auburn is steamrolling every chance they get. Doing a push into spawn, going A, going B, they're going B.
I love the blast back to retaliation. Like that's gonna get you the kill. Maybe if I throw a C4 riding your eye socket, that can do some damage, but it's just not gonna do enough when you're playing as a Raze, and they're just deciding to go ahead and throw down the spike. They want to make sure to grab these kills. They're gonna have some fun with the rest of this game. But Thrax and Mundar, problem is how long would that fun last? In a 1v2 scenario, Skywater has nothing but a Bucky. Still have all hedge hunter shots. So I mean things are still doable here, but you're a little confused and you're a little scared. I completely get it there, Chief. I understand your position. I'm scared for you, but you have to manage something here. You have to sit there and consider the lineups and know what could be your possibilities. You have to check every corner. Even then, right off the get-go, you didn't check your right, you could be punished there. But we don't hit those shots, it makes it a very easy cleanup here for Auburn. A 13-1 game. We still got a second map, keep in mind. So this game isn't over just yet. This is not a 30-minute series on our hands, but still Auburn speaking immense volumes right here off the get-go for this first map. And even then, I've seen Auburn play Fracture plenty of times. It's almost kind of their, I would say, wild card because they love going to this map. They know it's newer to the rotation. Heck, a lot of teams in the collegiate scene, they absolutely hate this map, quite honestly, because they're like, it's super weird. It's shaped like a Pokeball. We're playing Valorant, not Pokemon. what is going on here? Why are you selecting this? Well, Auburn, they always opt to use this neon. That's always kind of their biggest thing because the map is literally shaped like a track. It is a huge circle. You're saying neon, this is your field. You're an Australian shepherd and you are in the field. Prance as much as you want to, run about the map as much as you feel like is warranted, and find yourself at least a couple kills in the meantime to put that pressure into their spawn. And this is what Auburn does correctly. Problem is, JSU, they weren't planning enough towards their spawn. They weren't really going ahead and being scared enough to wait for that initiation to come towards them. And it really just spoke the volume of the course of the game. But it's not going to matter too much. Even then, we saw the even split of the scoreboard for the side of Auburn. Blue on top, red on bottom for them. But even then, we still got a second map on our hands. So things could still be doable here for JSU.
I think JSU's got a really good shot here. I think Auburn, they are quite a force to be reckoned with, but I think if JSU, if they can really just play together as a team, if they can get something started, if they can just get the ball rolling, if they can start snowballing, I think they've got a chance here.
And I'm thinking momentum is a really good factor in, quite honestly, and that is if JSU gets around to finding that momentum, because as it seems right now, Auburn, obviously, it's just kind of speaks for itself when we see their standing thus far. A 13-1 there for map 1. If you were JSU and if you're not used to playing around on Fracture because you didn't ban it out because you don't expect other teams to be using it, you need to have a complete mental reset. That's all it dwindles down to, quite honestly. You need to make sure that you don't find yourself in the game feeling a little bit beat up about that when you say, okay, it's all good. We don't play this map. We haven't really practiced it too much yet. And even then, obviously, Auburn, they know what they're doing here. Even then, we mentioned the rank differential earlier. Intimidation can't be a factor neither. So they need to make sure that they have to go ahead, hold themselves strong, make sure that in this next map that they have no concerns on what's really going to come at them.
Yeah, like what I'm hearing here is that JSU actually picked Fracture, unknowing that was Auburn's best map.
I see. We had the picks and bans. We don't like to lie here on Cass, but I was gonna have this one opportunity to give them the benefit of the doubt, because we can hear the players in lobby right now. They are throwing jokes at each other, but quite honestly, I don't think there's anything funny about this. They need to straighten themselves up, because I mean, when it comes around to the second map being Auburn's pick, we heard that JSU, they said, okay, we chose this hoping that y'all didn't know how to play it. That just really bit y'all in the rear end. Let's be real, because I've seen Auburn play this map on plenty of occasions. I've cast it on their channel plenty of times, and I know their composition. I know they love having fun while they sit there and play the game, and sometimes it may cost them when they have themselves a little too much fun. But Fracture, as much as people hate it, that's because people don't like fun in Valorant. Let's be real here. They love going ahead, just winning out these games outright, being aggressive with it, and closing things down as fast as possible. When it comes around to competitive spirit, it's a little bit too much spirit, not as much competition, in some cases more than others. So they need to make sure on the second map that we actually see both those come together for one conglomerative term here for JSU, if they really want to go ahead and say, we can force a map 3 here. Problem is, they have 2 obstacles now, not only to find themselves a win, but to shut down the momentum of Auburn Force before they even really get themselves a fighting chance.
Right. I was like, personally, I don't like Fracture, but that's just me. But I can respect the people that like it and they are good at it. And Auburn, I know for sure they are good at it. I mean, they just said it's their best map, the best map that they play on. Yep. So I'm really excited to see how JSU is going to do on Ascent. I have high hopes for them. I really think they're going to do better here. It's a map that more people are familiar with, that more people are comfortable with. Like, I think this is going to be a good match. I really want to see a good competitive fight where we're trading rounds, like stuff like that. I'm really excited to see it. We need JSU to take that responsibility and that initiative and go for it and be willing to push through those sites, because something that I observed when I was watching them play on Fracture is they don't push. They get into like the main area to go into a site, and then they just stop. So I want to see that improvement.
And I think, honestly, I'm with you in that respect. It also comes down to, I feel like Ascent, I've seen Auburn on this map plenty of times as well. And it seems very, I'm not going to say iffy. I feel like that's a very incorrect term to really describe what they provide. It seems a little haphazardly. is what it comes down to. I think this is something JSU could really make the most of, considering if their team composition is really there and they really feel themselves. Because uh, guys. But considering what they have to provide, they're really going to go ahead and make sure that they can work off this, because Auburn, they do make a lot of secondhand guesses. They really back themselves off on this. And problem is, as I said earlier, I mean, it all comes down to momentum. Auburn, they know they feel confident off that. They have momentum. They know they can hit their shots now, and they're not really second guessing themselves anymore. So when you know a site's going to be hit, it's going to be not only hit, it's going to be backhanded and just into oblivion. You need to make sure to be prepared for that. So we have to see them really be prepared to really just kind of throw the full force onto a site. Make sure to have setups on both ends of the spectrum. Have a legitimate sentinel besides chamber to put utility on the field and make sure to create these stalls. And quite honestly, KJ would be the move for something like that, because we obviously know that KJ is the go-to. It is literally the exemplary of a sentinel. It's the prime example there. It is the epitome of a sentinel. When you look in the dictionary for Sentinel, when it comes on to Valorant, KJ will be the first one to come to mind. KJ will be the be all end all. And we need to have something like that, at least on one side. And even then, if you want to opt for the chamber, make sure to employ those trademarks somewhere. Get a nanoswarm grenade put to the side of the map. Make sure you have punishments put everywhere, just in case they do want to second guess themselves. And even if they don't, force them to be put into those shoes where they do.
I was like, because I think good picks here for Sentinels for even attacking side. I think that like Sage or KJ is such a solid pick
Yep.
for either side. It's like because while I do like Chamber as an agent, I just don't think they're utilizing him in the way that he's supposed to be used. I was like, on his own, he's fine, but when he's the only Sentinel on a team, that's when there comes an issue, because he can play more as a duelist than he really can as a Sentinel. It really depends all on how you play. It's like, and I don't see the potential with just a Chamber on the team.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, discussing Ascent, I mean, the lineups here, they have a very wide open to work with. They have themselves some pretty narrow edges to be playing with as well, so you know you can funnel these players in. You mentioned it earlier on map 1 with Fracture, that JSU, they were really funneling themselves on the side. They're making sure to go ahead and, like I said earlier, that little kindergarten line where everybody has their one respective circle to grab onto on the rope tied to itself. And you can make sure to say, all right, well, I get one pick. Somebody else is going to come out. Somebody either swing it. If I got an operator, we had ourselves 3 operators at one round at some point in time there in that last map on Fracture, that Auburn, they're looking to punish accordingly. They're saying, okay, get a trade out. I'm sitting there schmoving. I'm not even pushing their side anymore. I'm just grabbing a kill with the operator. I'll sit there, use this right quick, tap out, Rue, come in, buddy. Grab yourself 2, and then we can have ourselves an easy cleanup in a 5v2 scenario, knowing those 3 players are already down. They have to find ways to split across the map to really create and alleviate attention anywhere else, to have control of where the map is going to go and where these players are going to go. And as we can see that, I mean, JSU is going to start on the attacking side. They can create this opening move. They can allow that kind of element of surprise to work in their end. That is, if they want to manipulate it to a certain extent, that really sets them up here for a next couple.
Absolutely. It's like, and we're now going into the second map, Ascent. It's like we've got JSU on attacking and Auburn on defending. So I'm curious to see how this is going to go. JSU said in the chat right before the game started that they win these. So I'm looking forward to seeing if they can win these. I sure hope so. That's what I'm saying.
I think we all hope so. You're going to sit there and talk the talk. You need to walk the walk as well. But it also comes down to where the agent selections start. We can already see Schmoovin going for another little wild card pick here with the Yoru coming out, and Rue going ahead, not really playing as much of a game as what we saw. We saw last week that Alabama, once they sat there and won themselves in a dominant fashion in that first map, they decided, okay, you know what? We'll switch things up. We'll take ourselves to a penta duelist. We grab ourselves nothing but duelists across the board. Well, we're not seeing that option here just yet. Rue looking to say, okay, we still need smokes. We can probably kill with lung cancer more than anything else. So let's go ahead and employ these smokes here. Make sure to slow them down a little bit, because that's what we got to do. But even then, JSU looking to go ahead and still instill their actual compositions. I mean, being very legitimate about this. Dan Toaster running that jet. Red running the Sova once again. Brofius with the Sky again. Thrax and Mundar making a little bit of a switch up here and find himself instead moving on to a chamber. But as we mentioned earlier, for JSU in this map, I think they still need a legitimate Sentinel. And we're not seeing that yet, because that's last pick. Maybe this controller on the Omen. And once again, I got to say, that kind of scares me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they definitely have more than enough smokes with the Jet and the Omen. I was like, we've got blinds for them, they've got intel, but they don't have the sentinel they need to effectively hold sight. I was like, with Auburn, they don't really have much in the way of a sentinel that can actually hold a sight either, in terms of like a KJ or even a Sage. I was like, we've got a Breach, which I think is going to be very irritating for JSU, but I guess we're going to see how this plays out. JSU said that they win these, so let's hope so.
Yeah, let's definitely hope so. Even then, I mean, whether or not they're talking about the map or at least the first couple rounds, gotta hope at least one of them are true because we get to have ourselves a competition on our hands. And JSU, they still have yet to really come to life in this series thus far. So we can already see the setups. We see the teams going ahead, getting their respective positions. Obviously, JSU having to go ahead for more of a regular composition, trying to play it slow and steady. And Auburn, once again, trying to play a little bit more aggressive. They have themselves nothing but a retake composition. They're set up for the attacking side. Problem is, in the last map, they never really got a chance to shine on that attacking side as they were doing so much darn attacking on the defense that we never really got a chance to see them come to light just yet. So maybe we could see more of an even half and we see where Auburn's hand is actually forced here to really make more of an impact.
Like, they got the Yoru decoy and got blinded. I was like, but Auburn's actually playing somewhat passive in this. So they got spiked down, Smoovin with that pick. That's a good pick early game. Just see if JSU can keep the momentum going. See if they can hold this site, get the door
Oh
closed,
my
something.
God. You cannot. You cannot. That fireball. That's hot. That's unfortunate. But what even is more
Oh, and the
unfortunate
knife.
is Rue with that knife and watching the dark circle of the world fall upon him. So, when I sat there, we talked about, JSU wins these. We probably weren't talking about first rounds as that's gone over to the side of Auburn. So we have ourselves another chance as we do go into the second round. The force is obviously going to come through here for Auburn. They're going to find themselves a bunch of specters in their hands, but all things considered, we're still going to have the retaliation round. And that's where we saw JSU win out that first time, get themselves that one round onto the board. Maybe this time, knowing this is going to be another map pick, knowing it's going to be a different setting for them to be working with, they could say, all right, look, not a big deal. We find ourselves onto a site. We push up a little bit more or so and get ourselves aggressive and really just play the game out and keep our men alive. But you can't do that in this round, as we already see Rue with that first pick, able to go ahead and push up a little bit more, trying to get aggressive, able to go ahead and work right around Thrax and Mundar as Bubs goes ahead for a follow up. And that is a very easy cleanup here for Auburn as they bring it Swift in here to the second round.
Wow, that was something I really liked. Rue's tactic there on mid. He got the pick on Jet, and on the other side of that smoke, he TP'd to the other side, right behind that chamber, and got the pick on him easy. It's, it's interesting. I really think JSU has some potential here. They've got to power through. I'm seeing the same thing I did last game. They get to a spot where they can push in, and then they just stop. Like they can't follow through with the push, and I want to see them follow through with the push because I think they have a chance if they can just follow through with that.
And JSU obviously getting a little antsy here. When you sit there and notice the decoy, quite honestly, when Schmoving, you never know what to expect. So a problematic round here for the side of JSU. Already see Schmoving alone taking down two of these players on his own respect. 60 getting a clean little one tap there on the bub, so to make sure to even out the odds to some extent, making it now a 3v3. But the rifles are still on the ground. You still have these players pushed up towards this A site. I wouldn't blame if we saw JSU really go ahead and hit this A site. Look for the aggression there. Make sure you can't pick up these guns, but things are going to be really, really difficult as you can already see 60 able to go ahead and get so much damage on the respective sky on the other side that it makes the job extremely hard. But Dan is now here for backup. You had the duelist to back yourself and get yourself onto site. Problem is, you just don't have too much health there. But 60 with another clean, swift kill on there on the top. We see Oru trying to get a little bit more fancy towards the middle of the map, trying to grab some more kills. But even then, coming up on the top box, looking to grab some sheriff shots there, maybe get another kill. But with both players being fairly low for the side now, on the side of JSU. Things are going to get really, really sticky, and they're looking to make sure to transfer over to the speed side. Problem is, 60 holds up a little bit more so, plays more slow, but Dan makes an exchange there with the Phantom in hand. Able to find that one kill. It all comes down now to the duelist and the initiator in a 1v1 scenario. Lynx and Dan Toaster, who can pull this one out?
I think this is gonna be an interesting 1v1. It was like they got the bomb down, so that's promising. See if Dan Toaster can hold this angle, really get that last pick on Sky, really get something started here. Sky has absolutely no idea where this jet's at all. No idea. Like, I think this is looking really good for the side of JSU.
You've already gotten the intel. You've already gotten the idea. You can hear the footsteps bouncing around because it seems as if Lynx is just kind of messing around, but looking to go ahead, get that defuse. Lily defusing right in front of Dan Tozer's face. A little bit of a rougher retaliation round, I gotta say, compared to that first map when you had two players alive. They dwindled that down to one. That's only be one player carrying over that gun into the next one, as we can see that Auburn, once again, well, they had themselves the answer. They were playing off that bonus. They now force out the full rifles. They grab their weaponry. They go ahead and pick up their arsenal, and they grab on themselves a rifle run of their own. Problem is the exchange. The only player still able to really manage too much in this round would be Dan Toaster, who stayed alive in that last one, picked up that money, didn't have to invest any of it right here. And the rest of his team is really saying, okay, well, we got to back up this firepower. We've got to manage ourselves at least around on the board, shut down Auburn. If we can go ahead and clutch up this round, they're going to be in the dumps for econ, and they're not going to be able to do anything in their own respect. But we have to win it here and keep this streak going. Otherwise, things will fall apart once again.
Ready to see JSU snowball. I was saying it before the match started. If they can just get this snowballing started, I think they've got a solid chance at winning this game. It's like Auburn, although they do play really aggressive, so that does pose a problem for the side of JSU. Especially as attackers, they can't get a whole lot of movement on when Auburn plays so absolutely aggressive ending side. It's hard to even get into a site. But they did it one round. I think they can do it again.
And even then, already looking to get even more aggressive, pushing right into the spawn. We already see Schmoovin just running around a corner, finding the shots of the Phantom, managing a kill there. We obviously play Valorant a lot. There's no way in God's green earth I can manage something like that. If I don't get a one tap with a gun, Valorant just decides not to give it to me. But apparently, Schmoovin, he's incentivized to just fully sprint and shoot at the same time. So more power to you, buddy. But all things considered, we see that third round coming out for Auburn. We see three players staying alive at the end, so they're not really too beat up when it comes around to economy. And that once again switches up the econ for both sides. A win streak for nobody, a lose streak for nobody just yet. A switch up and a switch up really goes ahead and puts JSU into the hole here. Had to manage themselves somewhat of a thrifty, and Dan Toaster is the one who really has the pressure put onto him with 2,300 creds. Still managed a rifle round in the spy. They're looking to go ahead and shoot out right there on the Schmoovin's decoy, but thankfully they missed it. So they're a little bit more, I'd say, aware of what's going on to say maybe we shouldn't shoot that first man each time. But I know exactly what Shmuv is doing. He's trying to throw that Joker out every single round to where he can eventually run in. Nobody shoots him, and he finds an easy little back end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I have just been informed that JSU actually is playing with subs today. So that's part of the reason maybe why the team composition, the chemistry is not as good as a normal team would be. They're not used to playing with each other. They've got subs this time. But I do think that they can still round this game out as long as they can play together, just like that, pushing into sites as a team, like they're doing right now. But they're just getting picked off one by one, and another round goes to Auburn.
Makes this game
They
extremely
just,
difficult.
I was like, Auburn is plays so aggressive. It's like it's hard to even get your feet in the door, let alone just try to even get a pick, especially with Schmoovin and that decoy. I do see what he's trying to do, trying to get them to shoot that so he can get a couple picks, maybe just win the round like that. Who knows? But I think that JSU has a solid chance here. Like I've said before, just work as a team.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand with this whole kind of sub ordeal, it makes things really difficult, and you don't have kind of the strats put together or anything, and it makes it an extremely difficult expenditure. I mean, I can completely understand that, but all things considered, I mean, you got to have a baseline. You got to go ahead and at least give your teammates the trust to say, okay, well, let's go ahead and really do what you're typically used to doing. Thing is, you have to employ these strats because we're not seeing too much of that yet. We're seeing Bubs get quite aggressive. We're seeing the follow up for the teammates as Boosted goes ahead and pushes right into those panels area. Manages one kill there, looking for a spawn, looking for a stun on the Dan Toaster, and saying you find some shots in the kill instead. So slow and steady. It's the name for absolutely nobody here because it doesn't seem to be quite an option anymore. 60 being alive and well, one of the players for old JSU had a minute to 3K now, grabbing every single kill in the round. The guy's looking really darn good, but just can't really close things out as you go ahead and at least give your teammates enough of a shot to say it's a 1v1. You clutch this out, you find one kill. That's how we won that third round. Let's see if that's how we can win now. What would be this sixth? So, all things considered, you got to sit there, play around the map, play it slow, see if you can get yourself a little bit of a twist up. But as you can already see, Chambers on site, looking to plant, looking to go ahead and get that timer ticking down into their favor for JSU. But Lynx trying to play on the outside in this exact scenario on that first round that we saw in the 1v1 situation. Not really the best case standing once again. Possibly a lesson learned to say maybe I shouldn't do this again. You see the guiding light go out, doesn't get any effect on anyone. So you check right towards Boathouse, knowing that pillar, that rendezvous statue is right there. You sit there, you see it goes away, you find the shots, you know the blind goes out to the right, so you go ahead and shoot yourself towards the left. So there it is. The DP's going down for Auburn in fifth round for him as well. JSU with 4 ultimates to work with this next round. I better at least see 2 of them gone ahead and popped.
Absolutely. I think JSU did really good that round, especially with 60 as Omen. He was putting in work that
Yeah.
round with the 3K. I really think that saved a lot of the round, but they just couldn't finish it out at the last second. It's like, but it's a good start. It's an improvement. I was like, we just got to see this continue.
I gotta say, I don't know who this 60 guy is. I don't think I've seen him before. JSU, but y'all better keep this man in. With the amount of one taps I've seen this guy manage in this game thus far, with the kind of plays and the kind of comfortability factor we can see on this Omen, not only we sit there and have discussions all the time about, meta picks, about comfort picks when it comes out of Valorant. Comfort picks, obviously not really mattering too much right now, but still 60's able to manage something there, but not really enough in this round. Even then, as we see Auburn just absolutely running into the spawn, looking to clean out this game as quickly as possible. But I mean, right back to my point, I mean, you got to sit there, you got to keep a player like this around your team. I mean, the comfortability around those smokes, a player that can manage the kind of, I would say, inhibiting the vision of the opposing side while still giving your team these opportunities and these windows to be working with. Those are blessings not really handed out quite often. And knowing these kind of shots that are still there, the potential behind something like this, you got to make the most of that. But even then, we got to see JSU make the most of this game thus far. Sitting at a 6-1 deficit right now, and they're really trying to bounce back into this game. You only see Auburn with 2 ultimates. And I mean, that's all good and well, but you got to sit there and pop off some kind of intel. You got to find something. Your Sova is going to be your main gate for that.
Right. I was like, I like seeing this Omen mid. Really, it's something. Not this round, but I think if 60 can just get some leeway, can maybe get behind Auburn, they have a solid chance. But it's just, they just knew he was there, and they're just pushing up mid like it's nothing. They have the confidence, they have the ego to push up like this. They play super aggressive. It's like it should, they're just steamrolling JSU. They don't know how to counteract this. They don't know how to counterplay it.
Okay. There's one, at least for the side of Thrax and Mondar, where you get a player coming up from flank there, not too much to do. When you know the Dan Toaster's there in the back, out at least manage one there. Look for another one on the smooth and can't manage the shots. And we see Auburn going up to 7-1 as Rouge just going ahead. And I don't know, I think the guy took a potty break. But I mean, looking at the rest of the squad, though, that's what we see is just brute aggression towards spawn. And even then, we get to sit there. Sometimes you may run into weird teams. I think it's just obviously Auburn having somewhat of an aggressive, having an ego, and just kind of working with it as best they can. But when you sit there and consider that there will be teams sometimes that go into this kind of strat, it's very odd. You're not really used to it. You're saying, well, what is going on here? You can't slow the game down in a respect where you fight for control on the map right off the get go, isolate yourself to one area, and really just go ahead and pan out for a default once again. You have to wait for that aggression. You have to wait for these players to go ahead and push you because you know it's coming every single time. Schmoovin has made moves like these every single time. Bubs was pushed right there towards B main. It's made things very difficult. And even then, we see no real adaptation being made just yet. As even then, a 4v1 already comes into light, and Dan Toaster's the last one standing. Able to manage one, make it a second now, as you see Rue right there towards the middle. Manages that one as well. It's now a 1v1 scenario. Dan Toaster only has 31 health against Breach, and all boosted. He's looking to go ahead and pop that Rolling Thunder. Looking to grab the stun, trying to swing around that corner, but you boosted Dan right around another corner where he can really stay alive, try to play for a corner and get aggressive right on the swing. But even then, Boosted knows his limits. He knows he has control of the spike there towards B side. And he knows that Dan's going to make the first move if anything's going to come into a flourishing here.
Right, I was like, I see that Dan Toaster's trying to go in with a flank, maybe try to slip in and grab that spike and just get it to a site, but I don't think Boost is going to let that happen. He's got sight on mid. It's like the only way I can see Dan Toaster getting through this is going out through B and grabbing it and going on his merry way. We just got to see if Boosted will be able to pick up on that.
Moose has already got an idea where Dan is because Dan missed those shots, was able to manage to kill just there because when you isolate yourself towards the middle of the map, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of kind of scary predicaments you could force yourself into, but he keeps the idea, he holds strong, and Dan is able to close out the round, now making it a second onto the board. the guy's the one who's clutched up both these 1v1s to go ahead and get JSU their 2 rounds onto the board. So this is still a manageable game for him. A 5 round deficit, we've definitely seen worse before. And even then, they're still only on this first half as they still have 3 left in this half before they really make a switch up. So, I mean, all things considered, when we see the setups, when we see what these players are doing, it's the same thing. I mean, only a chamber as your sentinel, it's going to make things very, very difficult getting on this defending side, knowing what Auburn is doing. They played pure aggression even on the defending side. So, I mean, when they're on the attack, Lord knows what they're really going to bring to the table. I mean, Lord knows what they're going to put on your plate and force you to eat, is what it's seeming like thus far. So, a little bit more respect to come out. Auburn not playing nearly as aggressive this time, not forcing themselves down the middle of the map, not looking to go ahead and pop one of those running backs to force themselves into the spawn, but already boosted, being the first player to get some kind of intel, saying they are towards B main, but do they follow it up? Well, yes, they do, because they have not managed at all. Bubs that they would have managed a kill there, and they're just looking to push themselves back onto the spawn once again. It's that running back will go ahead and force things out. Rue looking come for some backup. Boosted able to manage that kill there, but Red with now 2. Make it could be a little bit more, but in the 1v3 scenario, Dan's going to clutch things out, able to go ahead and find that first one, but can't manage it anymore as Bubs cleans things up. Now sticking an 8-2 lead here for Auburn.
It's like I do see JSU, they're starting to get a little bit of confidence. They're getting a little more comfortable with pushing a site, but I'm still seeing that same thing. It's like even more so as soon as someone gets picked off on a first push, that's it. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to counterplay or counteract against one of their teammates being picked off, and I think that's a lot of the issue. I do see the improvement. I do see that they are getting a little bit more confident in how they're playing. I want to see this continue. I want to see them continue to get more confident.
And even then, one thing we're going to see it is them being this confident factor will take a lot to really work off of. But even then, you can't have too much confidence. This damn, once again, kind of rushing in as lonesome. You got to know when you're outgunned. You got to know when to work as a squad. I sit there and said it so many times that it's extremely difficult for Valorant players to know when to fold. So you got to sit there and work off things. You got to find yourself some shots. You got to play the game a little bit more slower. And quite honestly, 60 just didn't get the backup there with those smokes to really give that leniency for his team, the space. And quite honestly, the smoke finally comes out, but it's from the side of Auburn, which was the shot that saved them when they're trying to go ahead and know they're pushing off site. But there's Rue with the judge pushing up, finding a double kill, cleaning up one more round here onto the board for the side of Auburn. And even then, I mean, we see it already. Dan looking to get us so aggressive. Having that duelist mentality makes it very difficult to know when you should know your lines, when you should create your limits, draw your line in the sand and play things out. And honestly, it's a very, very difficult thing for duelists to do. And for a lot of other teams, you're very thankful to have a duelist like that, but you got to have somebody who can also control themselves and know when to not really push out too much, not get overzealous for these kills, and know when you have that backup and utility from the rest of your squad. Maybe a guiding light right there around the edge. If you sat there and played it towards sight, swung it around the left, knowing that he was going to peek that, they would have created that window for your team to not only sit there and grab that kill, but force everything up towards the map as well to get yourself a free plant. But things like that don't come out too often. It's a very, very weird predicament when you're put into it. But even then, speaking of predicaments, we already see JSU on this B site looking to get this plant down, boosted, surrounded in a 1v5 or 1v4, excuse me, scenario as Rudo's found that exchange, making things look doable here for Auburn in a 3v4, but not nearly impossible as Bubs is going ahead and grabbing these frags.
I'm glad JSU's got some site control. Let's just see if they can hold off Auburn. I was like, it's a 3v2, so they have numbers here. They just gotta play it smart.
As Thrax only has 38 health, you can see him coming out with the Odin spam, looking to get as aggressive as possible, trying to work off this blind. Schmoovin is on site, right behind his opposition. Nobody knows what's going on, but there it is. Red able to go ahead, find that kill, get a second one on the board instead. We got, I wouldn't say an even half, but a most definitely manageable half here for the side of JSU as they make themselves up to a 9-3 half, working in their favor. Now switching on to the defense.
Absolutely. I think Auburn, I think right there, I don't know, they just backed off too much. I don't know if they just kind of let them have the site for free. I'm not sure, but either way, JSU played that round perfectly. That's what I love to see, if they can just keep on replicating that sort of chemistry and that sort of plays like that. I think they've got a really good shot at evening out this match.
I mean, they most definitely do. It all comes down to really how the pistol round goes, because considering that if Auburn does find this first round, if they find that aggression, if they go ahead and whip out these wild cards, they could find themselves an easy double digit. And then then starts the countdown, the real countdown that actually goes ahead and dictates the course of this game. finding yourself that match point, that map point that really sets the tone here for everything else. But we can see that the aggression doesn't really go into their favor. They all swing into a flash, but no players there to really go ahead and manipulate that fact. And Thrax and Mundar with a great opening shot on the Rue really creates some space for the rest of the team to say this retake could really be doable here. That is, if you find the shots, already grabbing some kills on the Bubs, there goes Schmovin as well. We find ourselves now in a 5v2 scenario where Auburn is down.
JSU, they are doing phenomenal. I really think them playing for retake instead of trying to hold them off was so good.
But I mean, looking at the score thus far, I can see there's a little bit of light here for JSU. Quite honestly, I'll be real about it. But I mean, there's going to be a lot to really get there. You can already see the forces coming through. We see have the gun advantage for the side of old JSU. So I mean, they're going to make some kind of an opportunity, a window to be working with off here. And we're expecting the second round. Problem is the retaliation round. Is what I sit there and label on so many different occasions, where you get those rifles in hand. Knowing that Auburn will have themselves a gun advantage, that third round will be critical. It will be crucial. It will be the foundation to your comeback if you can manage to keep a lot of players alive in the process. But already the aggression coming out for Auburn, looking to go ahead and play in towards market, not expecting a player to be there as Protheus does grab himself too. And one more coming around on the edge. It's going to be Booster right in the middle of the map, getting picked off. A flawless here for Auburn. If anything was going to create some light on the scenario and the situation at hand, that definitely could have been it. Just one round onto the board where you have all these guns to still work with, a bunch of Spectres and a Bulldog at your disposal. You got to pray you find some picks and some very aggressive angles to catch these guys off guard.
Like JSU, they are just really, really doing well with this. I was like, they're just dominating on defending side, and I think this is really good for them. It's going to get that confidence up. It's going to be phenomenal. I was like, I'm curious to see, is like, can Chamber get another pick here for JSU, like on mid?
Well, we don't see a mid push coming in at all. We see everybody moving on towards this A site, looking to go as aggressive as possible once again. Following suit of what we've seen out of Auburn thus far, with the flashes on so many different angles. You have right there Bubs on that Phoenix. You have Schmovin on that old Yoru. Everybody's throwing out their flashes, making sure that you can't really play the game while you can still shoot. You can't hear or see the shots and where they're going. So, all things considered, you see them already on site. The plant to come through as well. Boosted looking to go ahead and grab a flash towards heaven, knowing that at least one player will be up there. It's going to be a very, very easy investment. But with that shockwave coming out, looking to grab some damage, looking to force these players out for an extra couple seconds. Rude's working towards the middle of the map. Able to manage one there. And the exchanges come out. Auburn find themselves a 10th. Not the best case scenario they could have asked for because the flawless were doing great for them to answer things back. But three players, you still got yourself the majority of these guns to work with. So things really aren't too shabby if you're really considering the what panned out for yourself.
Right, right. I was like, it's gonna be a really close match, I think. It's like compared to Fracture, JSU's playing a lot more comfortably, and you can see that in the way that they're playing too.
I mean, the way they're playing the game thus far, look. This even carries into your casting. You are so optimistic. I'm not going to sit there and say that JSU's out of this, but we got to sit there and discuss what is it going to take for them because they now have themselves a 10-5 game on their hands. This game is doable, yes, but there are going to be steps they have to take to really manage themselves this win. Because obviously, we sit there and have the great person of Skywater here in the chat able to go ahead and give us some background on JSU and really that 60's their captain who's just not really able to play too much. Well, thankfully, he's here today to find the shots and go ahead and pick off at a kill on the Schmovin. Grab one more. You say, all right, well, thank God we got a Slayer. We got a Duelist and a Controller all in one. And with these blinds also, with that paranoia, you have yourself an Initiator to some extent as well. But it all comes down to 60 and Dan Toaster looking to wrap things around. Dan can't really manage to kill there, but 60 can at least find one. Now they're on a 3K. Problem is, Bubs is there. Bubs has the shots as well. That's an 11th round in Auburn's hand. JSU now also having themselves somewhat of a save round to work with here in this next one, and things are look really difficult for them. They got to bounce back. They got to find a place in the map that really works for them, and then being on the defense, it makes it very difficult. And honestly, for a retake scenario, we saw some promise there in that last round where things were looking pretty doable for them, and they got to make sure to follow that up. They got to have some kind of oomph behind it. They got to have some warrant, some merit to really work off of, and we just got to see that come into light. So as they do find themselves somewhat of a budget buy, they're forcing up to some extent, buying these Stingers, buying these Bulldogs. Things could definitely be doable, especially for 60, who's been fragging out extremely well. Dan Toaster looking to find those shots on the Schmoovin, but this guy has no regards to anybody. They're popping all these ults at the same time, rolling thunder, dimensional drift, and the running back all to fill up off each other, and you manage at least one kill from it if you're Dan Toaster.
Like Auburn's just pushing in here. Like we're slowly working on the rotate for the rest of JSU, but they are holding on to this B site pretty dang well. If I must say so myself, they can just keep it up.
Even in a
Like,
4v3, you've already lost yourself a couple players, but even then, the exchanges are definitely there. It all comes down to Boosted, who's in a 1v2 scenario, looking to hug at least one of these sides and can grab one of those kills. Last one standing to be him versus Brofius. If he can hit these shots, he can get a 4K, and he can get a match point here onto his hands with this one last round being to dictate this entire series.
Whew, I was like, JSU, they've got to get something going. They almost had it that round. Like, I just don't know where it went wrong, but they are trying their best and they're doing pretty good. I mean, I think they're holding up a lot better than I would against Auburn personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think if I was up against Auburn, I'd probably be getting wiped as well. So I can't really say too much. But I mean, I sat there. I've seen these guys on plenty of occasions. I've sat there and seen JSU over the course of a couple weeks. I've seen Auburn almost over the course of a year now at this stage, and they're looking to show a lot of improvements. They've really shown this, but even then today, it doesn't seem like they have too much of a convincing case on their hand. You at least see Dan Toaster managing a kill there, going for the operator on the attacking side. They wrap themselves right to the middle of the map, move towards his A site, trying to come in from the flank, and there it is, Red with a double kill. A massive one at that, as you're forcing the team of Auburn into a 2v3 situation. 60's on this site. Schmoo tries to play a little bit crazy, but just realizes, oh my God, where did this player come from? And you see that now the 1v3 is it all comes down to Root. Has to not only manage the shots, but also has to sit there and grab that spike and manage to get a plant as well, unless you sit there and grab all these kills simultaneously. Thing is, it makes it a very, very difficult situation when you know the spike's right in front of you. A player's gonna be playing near there, so you get the read. You find that first one to Thrax and Mundar. You get the call from earlier to say, okay, well, 60's back there towards that B side, and he has a rifle in hand now because he just picked it right up off of Schmoovin. You maneuver out your own smoke. You find yourself 6 feet under, but not only the only six on the field, as we also see that JSU will manage their sixth round here.
All right, we're in a 12-6. We've got JSU slowly working their way up. If they can just keep them from getting that last match point, I think this will be a pretty even game. Auburn's just got to finish it out if that's what they want. They got to play aggressive like they have been. I've been seeing that, but they just can't follow through with it. And so we've got Dan Toaster mid with an op. It's a really bold pick, but will anybody peek him so you can get that good first pick?
Well, I
And they're
think
making a slow push towards B.
Schmoovin may have that as an idea in the back of the old noggin, but instead he does go to opt and play for this ace type, play a little bit more of a Trojan horse role. And you can already see Auburn, they have themselves somewhat of a budget buy. They have money to some extent, but they're not really looking to invest it at all. Trying to play for these pistols, trying to close out the game like this. And I'm just not sure how long it'll last as they're working on all these. They're sneaking through every smoke in the game, looking to get a free take aside and play purely for the retake. And it's worked out thus far because every single one of them, surprisingly enough, is still alive and well. But really, how well are they? Is it going to be well enough to where they can find these kills? Because with nothing but a bunch of sheriffs and pistols and a shorty from Schmoovin who was trying to work for the flank but didn't manage it and still working right there towards Boathouse, Boosted already goes ahead and gets picked off. Brofius can back up that kill and find another one on the links, killing that respective Sky. But a 3v4, now still on the board as Rue does manage that first. 60 picks up that easy frack. Now it comes down now to the 4v2. You find yourself on site. You don't give yourself too much leeway for Schmoovin, and Bubs only has 1 health remaining. This could be almost an impossible venture for Auburn as they go ahead and look to not only close out this game, but at least close out a couple more kills. But 60 swings, finds a double there. 3 ticks left on the field, and is anybody gonna thank you. Yeah, I thought the defuse was coming through. So there it is. 4 players still alive for the side of all JSU as they make sure they can move themselves into another round. But with only 5 rounds now closing the gap to at least get themselves into an overtime, Auburn, they say, look, that was a save round. We gave that to you. You tried to play it as weird as we could, but we still got plenty of money at our disposal this time. We're going to look to put a nail in the coffin.
I think that play by Auburn was phenomenal. I don't know how they pulled it off, but they snuck in there. And they got this. That's good. Got some extra money. But can they finish this out? Can they get that match point? That's the real question we're asking here. We've already got a breach ult coming in on A. And Sky with the flashes, smokes all over.
Oh. Well, at least, thankfully, if you're the side of JSU, you got 60 on site. This guy is fragging out with a 3K on his hands. Auburn is now in a 2v1 situation. Dan Toaster not having a blade storm to be working with, but still can't go ahead and drop that operator for another gun that's right over to his left. Thing is, you want to find that easy angle. You want to find that first frag. You want to get that first easy kill and then make sure to manage a trade. But even then, the shots are missed. The game isn't managed. Auburn close things out in a much closer affair at a 13-7 map 2 on our hands here today as we close out this entire series. Auburn obviously being up 2-0, and even then the closure to come through. So a couple notes to take from here and there. JSU, don't choose a map if you don't know it, even if you're trying to blindside your opponent. I think that kind of got ahead and given us a different story for that map one, but all things considered, there's still a lot to be working with here. So even then on the second map, I said there, mentioned it earlier, Auburn, they seem a little bit more kind of iffy when it comes around to this map. They kind of second guess themselves a couple times. And even then it led to a couple rounds for the side of JSU to clutch things up, knowing that they were sleeping on 60, who, keep in mind, even though Auburn with a pretty convincing lead at the end of this game, 60 was still the top frac, and I was extremely impressed by that performance alone. But it all dwindles down to whether or not we can see the rest of these squads really go ahead, grab themselves an even better record as we do find ourselves coming to what would be almost the near main stage as we come into this playoff stage.
To be honest, didn't hear any of that. My whole computer just had a total stroke for a second.
Let me just talk.
But I will say, I want to thank our sponsors. It's like, y'all are amazing. Y'all do so much for us, and we really appreciate everything you do for the UNA esports, man.
Yeah, and then with all that, you know, even in with their sponsors, with their players, with their viewers, everybody from top to bottom, thank you for being here. Thank you for working with us today. We only have ourselves one series onto the table because I think we had some rescheduling problems, and even then it's spring break for some of us. So obviously not everybody's gonna be available at this time and period. But even then, don't go anywhere because on Friday we will still have ourselves that Rocket League matchup. Next Monday, we'll be right back on the schedule. I think everybody will be here and in school, ready to go. Because obviously we sat there and discussed that JSU had a couple subs today. Maybe that may not be the case next week. And even then the week after that, we'll find ourselves being that much closer to our finals that take place in person. So with all that, thank you all for tuning in. We'll go ahead and we'll catch you here later on because we're bringing this to a close here. And thank you. Have yourself a great rest of your night, even then a great rest of your week.